Hello everyone, thanks for checking out the channel. If you like this video, please remember to like, and if you subscribe, be sure to comment below. I reply to every comment. In a forgotten corner of the dense woods, an eerie sense of dread hung in the air, signaling the presence of something ancient and malevolent. Locals whispered tales of the cursed Medusa, a monstrous being with serpent hair and a gaze that could turn any mortal to stone. Those who dared venture near her rumored lair were said to vanish without a trace. Late one moonless night, a group of adventurous friends decided to unravel the truth behind the chilling legends. There was Emma, the brave leader who fearlessly led them on quests and adventures. David was the stalwart supporter, always at Emma's side. Casey was the jokester, able to lighten any mood. Robin was the free spirit, unwilling to let fear hold her back. And Riley was the thoughtful one, cautiously weighing each decision. Armed with flashlights and bravery, they cautiously advanced into the heart of the woods. Branches seemed to claw at them, and a haunting chorus of whispering leaves danced in the wind. Every snapping twig set their hearts pounding, and shadows danced tauntingly just outside the flashlight beams. After hours of navigating through the labyrinthine forest, the group stumbled upon a clearing shrouded in mist. A dilapidated stone altar stood as a grim testament to the tales they had heard. On it, a cracked mirror caught their reflection, each pair of eyes mirroring a mixture of anxiety and determination. Emma boldly stepped forward to examine the altar. She wiped away the layers of dust and revealed strange symbols carved into the stone. What dark rituals had been performed here under the light of the moon? A chill went down her spine contemplating such ominous possibilities. As the friends examined the surroundings, a soft hissing sound crept into their ears. Leaves and branches rustled where no wind blew. Panic gripped their hearts as they turned to face a creature straight from their nightmares. Medusa's visage was even more terrifying than the stories described. Serpentine locks writhed atop her head, and eyes that seemed to contain the abyss stared out from her grotesque face. The friends stood paralyzed as the serpents reared up, fangs bared and poised to strike. "We have to get out of here," yelled Emma, snapping out of her horrified trance. She grabbed David's arm and pulled him back towards the woods. The others scrambled after them, twigs snapping under their panicked footsteps. They tore through the trees, Medusa's enraged screeching echoing behind them. Her serpents struck at their heels as she gave chase, hissing and spitting venom. Emma led them in a chaotic zigzag pattern, desperately trying to lose their pursuer. But Medusa followed their trail with uncanny accuracy, unrelenting in her rage. Up ahead, a ravine cut through the woods, too wide to jump across. Emma assessed it with a tactical eye. It offered a slim chance of escape. "We'll have to climb down," she shouted. She scrambled over the edge, finding handholds in the exposed roots. David and Riley followed right behind. Casey hesitated, eyeing the steep, muddy slope nervously. A serpent's snapping jaws made the decision for him. He slid down the slick ravine wall, nearly losing his balance, as Medusa screeched from above. Her serpents writhed furiously, denied their prey. At the ravine's bottom, the friends sprinted downstream into the unknown. The sound of rushing water drowned out Medusa's cries. Jagged rocks and fallen branches threatened to twist ankles at every step. They focused on putting as much distance as they could between themselves and Medusa. Exhausted, they ducked into a small cave carved into the ravine wall. Huddled in darkness, they struggled to catch their breath, lungs burning. The dank confines of the cave provided shelter, but they knew Medusa's cunning could outlast their endurance. They had to keep moving. "Did we lose her?" whispered David between pained gasps. Emma crept towards the cave entrance and peered out cautiously. "I don't see her," she whispered back. "I think we're—" Her voice cut off with a scream as a serpent shot into the cave, sinking its fangs into her ankle. David grabbed a stick and beat at the snake until it released its grip. Its beady eyes glared malevolently as it slithered back outside. Emma collapsed, face drained of color. "It bit me," she choked out. David tore a strip of cloth from his shirt and tied it around the bite marks as a makeshift tourniquet. Riley offered her jacket as a bandage. "We have to keep moving," David said urgently, pulling Emma's arm around his shoulders to support her weight. Casey and Robin crowded protectively around their injured friend as the group emerged from the cave. They scanned anxiously for any sign of Medusa, expecting an attack at any moment. When the snake-haired monster was nowhere to be seen, they continued downstream, slower now as Emma struggled against the serpent's venom. She tried to put on a brave face, but fear and shame at being wounded clouded her eyes. David whispered encouragement, trying to keep her spirits up. The friends navigated the rocky ravine in tense silence, senses straining for any hints of Medusa's approach. The rushing river drowned out any sound of stealthy pursuit. For now at least, it seemed they were alone under the indifferent gaze of the stars. Soon the ravine opened up, and the friends found themselves back amongst the twisted trees. In the distance, the faint lights of a rural town shone like a beacon of hope. If they could just make it to the safety of the town, they could get Emma help and survive this nightmare. Leaning heavily on David, Emma pushed forward one agonizing step at a time. The lights drew incrementally closer, the town tantalizingly near yet painfully far. Progress was slow on the winding forest path, and Emma needed rest. But stopping could prove fatal. So they marched on in strained silence through the witching hours. Shadows danced around flickering flashlight beams, playing tricks on exhausted minds. Each took turns supporting Emma's faltering steps. Their own limbs grew heavy, but adrenaline pushed them forward. Without warning, a shadow detached itself from the trees ahead. Glowing eyes fixed the friends with a malevolent stare as Medusa blocked their path. They froze like cornered prey. Medusa approached slowly, savoring their terror. Her serpents writhed with anticipation, hungry for fresh victims. David and the others formed a protective circle around Emma. They had come too far to surrender now. Medusa halted, regarding them with those ancient, pitiless eyes. David met her gaze and saw only an empty void. This creature had no concept of mercy. With no other option, David charged forward with a wordless yell, swinging his makeshift club. The serpents recoiled from the blows as their mistress shrieked with rage. Seizing the opportunity, the group ran past Medusa toward the town. Glancing back, David saw Medusa's hateful gaze focus on him. He tried to look away but couldn't break eye contact. Against his will, he felt his limbs growing stiff and heavy as her petrifying power took hold. His vision blurred as his body turned to unfeeling stone. From the safety of the town, the survivors turned back one last time. David stood frozen in place, face twisted in a rictus of fear. With an anguished cry, Emma fell to her knees, the light fading from her eyes as the venom finished its fatal work. Tears streamed down Riley, Casey, and Robin's faces. Though they had escaped with their lives, the horrors they witnessed in the cursed woods would torment their dreams forever after. David and Emma would stand forever frozen at the forest edge, tragic monuments to the dreadful power of Medusa. In the coming days, searches for the missing friends would come up empty-handed. The authorities dismissed the survivors' claims as mere ghost stories. But locally, whispered rumors would persist of the cursed creature deep in the woods, her stony gaze awaiting any who drew too near. The survivors, scarred in mind and soul, found themselves ostracized for their role in the tragedy. Emma's grief-stricken parents blamed them for leading their daughter to her doom. They avoided the accusatory glares and hushed gossip by keeping to themselves. Only old Crazy Joe, the eccentric town eccentric, believed their tale. As a young man long ago, he too had ventured into the dreaded forest and glimpsed the creature known as Medusa. Though avoiding her stony curse, the sight had shattered his mind beyond repair. Whenever some brave but foolhardy soul proposed searching the woods for evidence, Crazy Joe would become hysterical and plead with them to stay away. In his fractured mind, he could still hear Medusa's screeching hiss and see her baleful stare. His dire warnings went unheeded by the scoffing townsfolk. But Riley, Casey, and Robin knew the truth of Crazy Joe's ravings. His madness had saved him from a worse fate. They brought him gifts and visited often, finding solace in his understanding. The rest of the townsfolk eyed them suspiciously, but they accepted their pariah status without complaint. Over the long years, many thrill-seekers and adventurers would ignore all caution and enter that cursed realm despite Crazy Joe's unhinged ravings. Like the others before them, none were ever seen again, fueling fresh stories and speculation. Some claimed the friend's fate was a tragic mishap or an animal attack in the deep woods. Others wondered if ancient evils truly lurked in forgotten places. But no one could explain the occasional discovery of new stone statues hidden in the forest depths, their frozen faces a gruesome mystery. Whenever these grim finds made news, Riley, Casey, and Robin would share knowing, mournful looks. Another life lost to Medusa's cruelty. It pained them deeply to know her evil continued unchecked. They renewed their pledge to never tell outsiders the true dangers of the cursed woods. Let them scoff and spin tales. Ignorance might spare lives. Crazy Joe has long since died, though some say on quiet nights his crazed ramblings still echo through the ramshackle rooms of the old inn where he spent his final days. His endless refrain is always the same, a desperate plea for all who value life to avoid the shadows of the cursed forest and the ancient evil that dwells within. The survivors made sure Joe had a proper funeral, the only ones in attendance. They chose a plot far from the prying, judgmental eyes of the townsfolk. In death, Joe finally found the peace that eluded him in life. Riley, Casey, and Robin mourned the passing of a dear friend. While the modern world has dismissed tales of monsters as mere superstition, in certain remote corners darkened by primordial woods, flickering campfire light still brings whispered stories of serpentine horrors, and the friends foolish enough to seek them out. The rational mind may scoff, but Riley, Casey, and Robin know the truth. They know the reality of Medusa's curse and the gruesome fate of those who fell under her malevolent power. When campfire tales turn to forbidden places, they quietly urge those present not to go seeking danger where nightmares lurk. Deep in the heart of the woods, dread lingers like a chill fog, awaiting the next bold souls to venture into its grasp. Emma and David now stand like grim sentinels, warning away the curious and foolish. And somewhere among the shadowed trees and cave mazes, Medusa bides her time, hungering for her next victims.